Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Today in Quarantine. I'm your host, Renee Cross, coming to you live from Lincoln, Nebraska, where, coincidentally, Abraham Lincoln was not born. He was born in Illinois. As any Illinois license plate will tell you, Illinois is the land of Lincoln, although Lincoln is here in Nebraska. But that's besides the point. Today is episode 80, and you're wondering, why are you wearing this hat, Renee? Well, I'll tell you why. I was thinking, I need to celebrate something, our second quarantine birthday, because quarantine is 40 days, and this is 80 days, so we've been around for 2 quarantines now. And I was thinking I need to have something to celebrate this with, and I was thinking if I had a hat, and this is just the goofiest hat I have from my days as a rodeo participant at Camp Akita. So howdy. It's also really ironic because I went to the garden store today to buy a shovel and a fork thingy. And I realized, I looked and I was like, oh, there's hats. And I was like, I don't need hats. And I have one. Always double check. So yeah. So happy quarantine birthday, everybody, to everybody who's been here for all 80 episodes, or maybe today's your first day. Maybe you're watching this in the future. Maybe you're watching this in the past. That wouldn't have really worked, even if it's like futuristic stuff. But no matter where you are, who you are, what you're doing in life, thank you for watching 2 complete quarantines of Today in Quarantine. And we hope you continue to join us as long as we're doing this. So, thank you. Today in quarantine, what have you done? That's my question for you today. I'll tell you what I've been doing today, but what have you done? Please let me know in the chat. I love to interact with everybody, so, I could talk to my screen all day, which I end up doing anyway, but yeah. Today in quarantine, I went on another bike ride, a little bit shorter today, and just kind of biking to get some exercise. I've set a bike goal for this week. I would like to bike 40 miles by next week, Tuesday. So yesterday, I think I did 13, and today I did 6. Ooh, man, I should have just done 7. So we're almost up to 20 miles. I just have 20 more miles to go for the week. And while I was doing that, I actually got an audiobook this week called Modern Love by Aziz Ansari. I think that's what his name is. Let me double check that. Let's see. Yep, Aziz Ansari, who is a comedian, and he's also on the show Parks and Rec, and also on what's that called? He has his own show called Master of None. Anyway, he's a comedian, and he's also the author of Modern Love, and he talks about ways that love has changed. And I really am enjoying this book. Pastor Guadalupe recommended it to me a couple weeks ago, probably a couple months ago. And it's just really talking about the way that dating and romance and everything has changed. And I think I'm about halfway through it. It's a really fascinating read. It's a little bit crude at times because he's a comedian, but has some really interesting facts and points. For example, did you know that most people, the 40s, 50s, 60s, a lot of people who got married in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they got married to somebody who lived within the same, usually within the same area that they lived, either the same small town, or sometimes they got married to somebody who lived in the same apartment complex, or they lived in the same, within 5 blocks. It was an astounding number of people who got married and were living in the same space for a while. Really interesting. But now we're not as much. And here's why. which is I'm just going to give you a preview of the book because I think it's pretty fascinating. If you know me, you know I love facts and figures, so love this, and it's pretty funny. But so back in the day, of course, women weren't really outliving their lives per se. So a lot of times women would be stuck in the house type of thing and not really going anywhere. And so the people that they would meet would be in their surrounding areas. And most people back then wouldn't necessarily fall in love and then get married, but then they would get married and then fall in love, which is not an unfamiliar concept. Many religions and cultures practice arranged marriage. And so it's very interesting to see that there's a lot of people who do that. And even in America, land of the free, home of the brave type of thing. It wasn't always, we fall in love and then we get married. No, it's more like we get married out of necessity. And even some of the women that are interviewed in the book are saying, yeah, I'm very satisfied with my marriage, but I always have wondered, what else is out there type of thing. Not in a bad way, just what would have happened if I didn't get married when I was 21 years old, So, as you all know, I'm single, so it's just like reading this book is interesting. It's just for fun to kind of see where the dating trends have gone. It talks about a lot. Dating websites, dating apps, how the first dating app started, which was when people would send in like their preferences to a computer and the computer would match them up based on combining preferences, and then how people they say they like one thing, but then their online dating habits talk about or say that they don't, essentially. So what you say you like isn't actually what you like. It's a very interesting little oxymoronic type of situation. Very interesting book. If you have Libby, the library app, or if you have access to a library at this point in time, check out Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. So, yeah. My mom says that means they knew each other and their families better before they got married. Good idea. True, some of them did. I mean, if they're living in the same vicinity, they're more likely to know each other and kind of know where they grew up. That's a pretty good idea for sure. But sometimes it's a complete stranger. Sometimes, honestly, I think it's not a bad idea. It takes all the work out of dating. So you just have somebody just match you up. It's fine by me. Anyway, what else have I done today in quarantine? I listened to some podcasts. I had a new student. Yeah. What was I listening to? There's something else I was listening. Oh, there's a podcast, the musical, called 36 Questions. Now, I guess this whole show is about love and romance, so why not? The New York Times has an article called 36 Questions to Fall in Love. And so there's just obviously 36 questions, and you ask this of somebody, and it just helps you get to know them a little bit better. And it's not like, oh, how many siblings do you have? But it's things like, who would you have dinner with? What are your greatest fears? And it's just good conversation starters and good things to think about out in the dating world. Anyway, somebody out there made these 36 questions into a musical in a podcast form. And yeah, so that's another thing that I'm listening to right now. It's pretty interesting so far. Highly recommend. Called 36 Questions, the podcast, the musical, or the musical, the podcast. Something like that. But it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify. It's probably everywhere you get your Apple devices. Another podcast that I listen to, I think I've mentioned on here, is called This American Life. And this week's episode of This American Life had a pretty good aspect of what it was about Afrofuturism. So check that out. It was actually really cool. It's a really good episode. All of their episodes are really good, but this one was Excellent. All right. Sometimes I think, because, sometimes I, live by myself, and for the last few years I've lived by myself. So sometimes I wonder, like, do I listen to podcasts to just kind of hear another voice sometimes, besides my own thoughts? Because I like to listen to people. When I'm, in a crowd, I like to listen to people. So I often think that that's kind of my way of coping, is listening to podcasts, just to hear another voice. Sometimes those voices get very familiar. Ira Glass from This American Life, I have a vague idea of what he looks like, but his voice, I'd know his voice. All right, today in Lincoln, it's probably about 85 degrees or so it's a little bit cooler, which is actually nice. You could feel the difference this morning as I was riding around. This morning was pretty sunny. Nice morning. It's getting cloudier now, and they said that there's supposed to be some thunderstorms, so we'll see about that. We shall definitely see. And now it's time for some jokes. Now, I'm going to say, if this is our 80th birthday, I should probably have some good jokes. We'll see. We shall see. You never know. Never know. I have to find some good ones for you guys. Only the best jokes for you all. Trust me on this. All right. So, what do you call it when a group of apes starts a company? Monkey business. Oh boy. All right. What would the Terminator like to be called in his retirement? The Exterminator. The other day, somebody asked me to go get 6 cans of Sprite from the grocery store. When I realized when I got home that I had picked 7-Up. There's a lot of trees that you can see. They're blooming, and most of them have leaves right now. And so you might be walking around and wondering, what kind of tree is that? I don't know. But you know how you can tell if it's a dogwood tree? By its bark. Man. Oh, this is like a multi-layered joke. What is the name of a very polite European body of water? Merci. And then it's not, get it? Merci, because it's like, oh, merci means thank you in French, but then sea is like the sea, the ocean, but mer is like also the ocean. That's a quality joke. That is like high level, high class. That's whoever came up with that. That's pretty good. That's really good. There's actually a joke that works in like 4 or 5 different languages. I wonder if I could find it. Let's see. All right, here we go. So, the joke comes from the great website Tumblr. And as long as it can load, it's not loading. Anyway, the joke is, and it works in maybe 4 or 5 different languages, but the joke is, where do cats go when they die? And the answer is purgatorio. And then in Spanish, it also works. It's ¿A dónde van los gatos cuando mueren? Purgatorio. The gato is cat. And then it also works in Italian because it's the same thing. Like gatto is Italian. And then it works in French because purgatorio, I think is in Italian. And then in French, it's like purchato. I can't speak French. But anyway, cat is cat. It also works. It also works in Portuguese. Anyway, look it up. It's called the purgatory joke. And it works in like a bunch of different languages. So cool stuff. Cool stuff that we know about. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Today in Quarantine. Happy second quarantine, and may our hands stay clean and our lungs stay breathing. See you tomorrow in quarantine for another episode of Today in Quarantine. Have a great day, everybody.